Welcome to the Oddsbreakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 73 of 2025. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neil. You can find me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media / the Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. If you'd like to support the Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any. For winning campers, get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. And if nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers, become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. It is Friday afternoon, close to evening, my friends, and got back a couple hours ago from my little trip to Mexico. And, as promised, I wanted to give you a quick kind of breakdown of more games. I feel like the episode was a little short, a little bit disjointed this week since I was on vacation. But now that I'm back, I have a couple extra plays I want to throw out at you and just give you some of my opinions on the lines. Right now I'm seeing my Virginia 14-point lead being completely torched by Florida State and some really bad quarterback play. The Chandler Morris for Virginia, just gunslinger, man. Total gunslinger. You know what gunslinger is? Strong arm. Has to have great receivers to make anything work. Throw it in just the vicinity of them and they make the play. It's not like you're a super accurate guy. That's what a gunslinger is, And sometimes they get to the NFL thanks to their great receivers. But they can look pretty dang bad if they're not making plays. And, that's kind of what's going on with Virginia right now. But seeing if my plus 7.5 holds, had some good line value on this one. But, now they're down by 7. So 21 unanswered points based upon 2 interceptions. Pretty poor for Chandler Morris and the Wahoos. Let's see if they come back here and help cash that ticket. But either way, let's jump right into Saturday. Notre Dame, Arkansas plus 4.5, total 63.5. This line moved way down from 7. It's probably to the point where I kind of want to look towards Notre Dame a little bit more. I know their defense has been terrible. Green is a good quarterback for Arkansas, but they choked that lead away against Memphis, and we were on Memphis last week, so that worked out well for us. But now do I want to fade Arkansas after that? No. Do I want to be on Notre Dame? I don't know. They let Purdue drive up and down the field pretty well. That defense is pretty bad. I'm starting to think maybe this 4.5 number is actually not so bad. It's probably a solid number for the books, and they'll probably get equal action on both sides of this thing. I know a lot of Notre Dame people, a lot of Notre Dame fans bet on Notre Dame and national type, program, but Arkansas has got the sharp money and the home dog behind them, and my number is exactly 4.5. So definitely think this is a solid number after looking at it. But USC, Illinois is about plus 7 now. Illinois looked terrible last week, but they're not that bad. And, they're actually, I would still say an upper Big Ten team, not like way upper. They're lower than probably Nebraska by a little bit. Probably around the Iowa range, but if this USC was going to Iowa, would they be a 7-point favorite? Probably not. Indiana is, but Indiana's looked at as a better team than USC right now, especially because they have a defense. USC doesn't really have a defense. I'm still liking Illinois, as I gave out that play last week at the plus 7. I'm glad it's back to plus 7 here on DraftKings, so you can make sure you can get it. But no changes on my thoughts on that one. Georgia Tech, Wake Forest plus 14, total 52.5. This is Wake or nothing for me. Georgia Tech kind of coasting now, and I think they could hiccup and make a few mistakes. Virginia Tech's terrible. Wake Forest is terrible right now, and kind of shifting with a new regime over there, a new program, and new coach. Jake Dicker deserves some time. And he did great at Washington State, but it's a program that is in their first year of a complete overhaul. Do I want to back a home dog like that? Yeah, sometimes actually. Sometimes I do. My number doesn't back it up though, because I really have Wake Forest ranked pretty darn low when it comes to my power ratings. So I'm just going to stick with passing on this one, but I'll kind of a weird. My numbers say Georgia Tech, but if I had to bet it, I would bet Wake Forest just based upon how college football is played. Next game, Cincinnati versus Kansas. Kansas 4.5, total 56.5. I'm going to add Kansas to a play, and I'm going to count it too as a podcast play here. We did great last week. This week, we have quite a few of them, as you know, from listening. But I think it's fair to put Kansas there now. I know Cincinnati's coming off of a bye, but they had a tomato can before that. I almost feel like the bye week came a little too early for Cincinnati. But, Kansas minus the 4.5. There's a 4 or 2 out there that you should probably try to get that I just got. I think Kansas is just a high-powered team, and I really like Lance Leopold. Cincinnati, they had their opportunities against some of those lower-class schools and didn't really show up that well. That Nebraska 3-point loss didn't really age all that well with Nebraska losing to Michigan the way they did and got beat up in the trenches, So that kind of made me look a little bit like, wow, maybe if I'm too high in Nebraska, I was too high in Cincinnati, and that's how you have to make adjustments. And, I'm thinking right now that that Kansas is a threat to the Big 12. I really think they did. Bowling Green is a better team than they were, but they're really coming back against this Cincinnati team. I think at Kansas is a tough spot to play, and Kansas probably still thinking a little bit about that loss to Missouri. So they did take care of business against West Virginia, but at home, -4, 4.5. I think it's play. I think this number should be 6.5 myself. So there you have it. We'll do that one for 2 stars.
You're ridiculously good looking.
Next game, Duke Syracuse, hard pass. These two teams completely incompetent. Syracuse coming off a massive win against Clemson. Big letdown spot for Syracuse. Don't know why I think I forgot to include that in my little article I put out this week. But this is a letdown spot for Syracuse, and Duke has to win something. They're also favored on the road here, so that I find that interesting. But probably a game I don't want to really get involved with here. UCF versus Kansas State. If there's any game I don't want to get involved with, this one's even less. I don't know what I'm going to get out of a very mentally challenged Kansas State team. They just lost their confidence, Their quarterback, he's got the yips. Avery Johnson has been poor. 60.6 completion percentage, 6 yards per attempt, 6.7 yards per attempt, I should say. He's just rattled all the time. And UCF, they're coming off a big win against North Carolina, but what are they really? Scott Frost? Do I want to bet on Scott Frost this first year? No, not really. He's probably still feeling how bad he had it at Nebraska. So this is a game that I want to stay away from. I would probably lean UCF in this situation. Yeah, I'm pretty low on both teams, like I said, but my number's 6. So even though my number says Kansas State, I would lean UCF. North Texas against South Alabama. North Texas is a pretty big favorite here. South Alabama coming off an embarrassing against Coastal Carolina. I'm like, what the hell happened there? But, I just kind of feel like South Alabama might get a little revenge for how bad they played last week, and I can see a backdoor cover working all day in this game. Bowling Green, Ohio, -7.5 Ohio is. I pass on that one, but I lean Bowling Green. I think Bowling Green is a much improved team. Eddie George is doing a fantastic job out there right now. I'm really high on Ohio, though. So, this is going to be awfully telling. My number's off on this. It actually says to bet Ohio, even though I just said lean Bowling Green. Then I'm a little closer to 10. I'm like, what? No, it's just this could also be a spot where Ohio puts their foot down and say, we're the champs of the MAC now that Toledo just lost too. Louisville versus Pittsburgh. Pitt plus 3.5, total 56.5. Perfect line, in my opinion. And Louisville could get margin, maybe not, maybe so. Yeah, probably a situation where I'm going to stay away from that one. Utah State versus Vandy. All right, Bronco Mendenhall. This dude is a coach. He's a great coach. He's now coming to Utah State. He's doing great with this program. This is a terrible spot for Vanderbilt. Terrible spot. And FanDuel's got it at 23.5 right now. Sorry, I have to give out another play. We're taking Utah State plus the 23.5 at FanDuel. This is a terrible letdown spot, flat spot. They got their revenge last week. The Commodores did in Pavia against a team they lost to outright last year in Georgia State. The week before, they beat South Carolina. They have Alabama on deck. This is just such a sandwich spot. It's like sometimes you just more upset for not betting a game and winning than you would by actually losing the bet. That's kind of what I feel about Utah State right now in this absolute spot. So you got to take Utah State here, in my opinion. And I think I think they can definitely have a hell of a game and maybe even up for the upset.
Where's my money, bitch?
All right. So next we have Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan. We'll pass on that one. I got nothing to say about those two terrible teams. Central Michigan's -3. Georgia Southern James Madison, probably a little bit of too big of a spread at 15.5 with James Madison with the big favorite, 54.5 total. Lean to the over. James Madison, you're always going to pay a little bit of a premium, in my opinion, on this James Madison team. So now that's going forward. Just remember that you're paying a tax on them. Ohio State, Washington. Washington's plus 8.5. This Washington defense is freaking terrible, man. If Ohio State just gets a few stops, they might just kind of keep marching down the field. Yet at the same time, this is a big spot for saying it. I got enough invested in Washington to make the playoffs and to Heisman for Damon Williams. As you know, I gave out at 150-1 earlier in the summer. So I just think that, my number just doesn't add up. What can I do? I mean, I was expecting double digits, and maybe I was going to grab Washington plus 13 or something like that. And Brad Power smashes the thing down last week. What am I supposed to do about that? And my number's really close to what it is. What is Washington? What is Ohio State? This is going to tell me if Sane can play on the road, but it is a great spot to bet against a rookie first road game environment, traveling all the way to the West Coast. So, yeah, a strong lead to Washington. Indiana, Iowa. Iowa's up to plus 8.5 here. Totals 47.5. Man, that money just keeps coming in on Indiana, but Iowa's offense I want nothing to do with, and I think Indiana actually does have some talent over there now. Good returning production. And maybe this is one that just gets out of hand again. It's Kirk Cignetti. Cignetti's just ruthless out there, man. Ruthless. My number does not add up to 8.5. But it's at 6.5. And but man, do I hold my nose and just bet the spot here? Indiana, maybe is it a letdown spot for Indiana where they were favored that much? I don't think so. LSU Ole Miss. This is going to be a great game. I have no idea what to do. It's a perfect spread. Ole Miss -1.5. It's a perfect situation. I have LSU as a slightly better team, and that's why Ole Miss is slight favorite. 3 points home field, 3.5, whatever you want to give. I have Ole Miss -0.5. So there's nothing I can do with this one, but it'll be one to enjoy and learn a little bit about these two teams. I think one of these two teams can make the playoffs. The winner of this one maybe want to check on Sunday or Monday. As soon as those playoff odds come, I'd grab the winner of this game to make the playoffs. Auburn A&M. We already discussed this one a little bit on the show earlier this week, and Auburn's in a spot where they got to put up, and A&M's coming off a bye, but A&M still could be in a letdown spot after the Notre Dame. Auburn is better than A&M. I'm sorry, they're better. They got absolutely screwed last week on the refs, but Auburn should be in this game. He should be. Next game, Utah versus West Virginia. West Virginia is now down to plus 12.5. This was at 14. I agree with the move because Dampier's only at like 70% or so. He's a little bit banged up. He looked terrible last week, but now Utah's got to pick up the pieces and go to West Virginia. But after the way they beat UCLA, I think West Virginia is a team maybe as good as UCLA, and Utah could get margin just based on the trenches. If they just run the ball the whole time, they could get margin and make a few stops here. I still lean to West Virginia, but my number is 10. So, yeah, lean to West Virginia in this situation. Tough place to play, too, Morgantown, Yeah, West Virginia, interesting spot. Wow, did they get their asses kicked last week against Kansas? That was bad. UCLA Northwestern, that's going to be an interesting spot. What do I say about coaches getting fired? You always bet on that spot, right? You bet on the coach getting fired. And there's a few opportunities that pop up in the NFL and college football when a coach gets fired. This is one of them. Do you have the nuts to do it? That's the good question. I have a premium play on this one. Akron versus Toledo. Toledo minus 20.5. Akron is absolutely piss poor, horrible. Toledo must be just kicking themselves after last week. I have this as a massive spread. I am probably going to be on Toledo at some point here. I just didn't get there quite yet. So, it's a situation where it's Toledo or pass, but Akron just can't really score. It's a great spot to bet Toledo too. Cal, Boston College, minus 6, total 53.5. Cal's got to get off their ass after what happened last week, going to San Diego State and getting embarrassed. Though Boston College I'm pretty high on Boston College myself. I have Boston College as the better team by. No, I don't have Boston College. I have them pretty close. You're getting 6 points with Cal. I have this as a 3-point spread, and it's at 6, so I'll lean to California right now. Just not sure what I'm going to get off them. San Diego State versus Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois plus 1.5. Interesting spot with San Diego State after they get that big win, and now they're in a letdown spot at Northern Illinois. Probably not messing with this one, but I do have San Diego State a little bit of a favorite here on the road, just like they are on the spread. Anything else popping up? We got some late games. You already heard my cap on Tennessee versus Mississippi State. I believe you did. Yeah, that was on Monday. I'm on Mississippi State plus the 9.5 now, plus 7.5. I think that people are assuming that they're a public dog, but no, Tennessee on the road, no thanks. Mississippi State's playing some damn good football right now. Damn good football. Arizona versus Iowa State. This is interesting. Going down to 5.5 now. Money coming in on Arizona. This got all the way up to 6.5. I'm not convinced yet. I really like Fafita, but I'm not convinced that that's a good coach over there in Brett Brennan. He chokes games away. It's so hard to bet on Arizona. My number's at 6 anyway, so I'll stay away from this one. But man, how do you bet on Arizona? And Iowa State coming off a break here. Probably a good betting spot for Iowa State. Definitely lean to Iowa State here. I can't bet on Arizona and Fafita. Or even more importantly, Brett Brennan. Oregon, Penn State. Penn State minus 3.5. There's a little money that came in on Oregon. Oregon Ducks, this is probably a number that makes you feel like a sucker for grabbing the hook, but my power ratings have Oregon slightly better than Penn State. I'm not sure if they were playing possum all year or what, but Aller looks terrible. He doesn't have that great tight end he threw to, last year. And there's, a serious thought that now Penn State's not the second or first best team, and they're third behind both Ohio State and Oregon. My power ratings have it there, but, this is a whiteout game. You got to give like 5.5 points of home field advantage for these whiteout games. 5.5 points. That's the truth. So you kind of think of where the line should be if you look at it that way. But I also have Oregon under 10.5 wins this year. So They win this one. I'm in a little trouble. Alabama versus Georgia. Georgia minus 2.5 now. Total 53.5. A bunch of money came in on Alabama just smashing this down. I disagree with it because I think Ty Simpson sucks on the road so far, and I don't know how you can put your hard-earned money on it. But at the same time, Bama's always taking care of Georgia. For some reason, this matchup, Bama always gets them. Always, man. I think it's like in a ridiculous, 9 out of the last 10 or something. I'll bring those numbers up right now for you. Alabama has won 9 of the last 10. The only one that Georgia won was in 2022. It's just the matchup just favors Alabama, but Alabama's only 6-4 ATS over the last 10 games. 9-1 straight up, 6-4 ATS. The over is 6-3-1 in this game, I find fascinating. I have this -4. I'm really thinking about putting some money on Georgia here. I'm not there yet, but I'm really thinking about it as this number keeps creeping down. I like how Gunnar Stockton has performed, and I think Kirby's a better coach than Galen DeBoer. He is. So there's a lot of talent on the Alabama team, though. So could be in a little bit of trouble, but I'll give you the strong lean on that situation. All right. Well, we did cover the NFL slate with Wes a little bit. Pretty soon we'll be able to use more stats, and EPA and things like that. Your strength of schedule has got to factor in somewhat here. Right now, if you're looking at, EPA per play, what's funny on defense, the Vikings are number 1, the Jaguars are number 2. Can you believe that? The Jaguars, Packers number 3, Chargers number 4, Falcons number 5, and defensive EPA per play. I find that just super surprising, especially with the Jaguars there, right? Now, that's why you factor in some strength of schedule. The Jaguars played the quarterback, Joe Burrow, got hurt with Cincinnati. Cincinnati still won that game somehow. We know how. Then Buffalo on offense, number 1. The Colts, number 2. The Lions, number 3. And the Ravens fall all the way to 4 because they lose straight up to the Lions. And then the Bucks are at number 5. Notice I haven't seen the Eagles in any of these. The Eagles are just very average when it comes to EPA. But, looking at that defense, I'm playing the Falcons against the Commanders only because there's backups everywhere. No, Commanders lost Eckler, right? But they do have some running backs there, and they are able to somewhat make up for that. But those running backs are more prone to fumbles, and now you have Marcus Mariota as a quarterback, and now you're missing your best receiver, your best running back, your best quarterback, and your best receiver out. So it's a situation where you almost have to bet Atlanta, and when you see Atlanta number 4 in defensive EPA, it's pretty cool. Now, Atlanta does have challenges on the offensive front, and Washington's going to show better, number 10th in EPA. But at the same time, this quarterback, Michael Penix, embarrassed last week, coming back home. Washington's in just a terrible spot. Yeah, everything kind of leads to Atlanta in this situation. And, I thought Atlanta had a pretty solid schedule already. They should have beat Tampa, and they went and just destroyed the Vikings. They had the hiccup against Carolina. Misleading final score, stupid interceptions, just weren't up for that game. It's probably one of the few bet-on spots for Atlanta that I'm going to do. But I'm not laying points. I'm doing the money line. -124 you can get in FanDuel right now. We'll do the Falcons, and we'll count it as another podcast play here just because the spot's great for them. I like Michael Penix. I like some of their Mooney, London, Pitts. I like their receivers. I like Bijan Robinson. Washington's just a little bit banged up right now. Their 3 best offensive players banged up. One's gone for the season. But, man, probably one of the few spots you're going to go against Washington. So that's all I have for you today. Utah State plus 23.5 at FanDuel. Kansas -4, -4.5, we'll call it for the podcast because it's mostly 4.5. If you search, you can find a 4. And then Atlanta money line -124 is what we're doing in the NFL. So those are the plays we're adding. I want to keep this short and sweet because I'm still very busy from getting back from vacation. But was glad I was able to throw out a few words for you tonight. Enjoy the weekend. I hope you win all your games. Best of luck to you in the college football, NFL, and of course UFC this weekend. You can go get some